Well, I'm going to put the rocker arms in, and I want to show you this. Take a look at that. Can you see it? This is a 750 Honda with probably 170,000, and this is one with 23,000. It's not even worn all the way down to make this totally shiny. But on most of these, look at this. Babbitt's missing here. Babbitt's coming off. Babbitt's on the side. Babbitt coming off. Now, don't worry about that. So what, the Babbitt has little pieces. It's because the way the metallurgy is, the Babbitt doesn't stick to the back and it comes off the hardened face here. And that's the bad part. But like there's a hole in the middle, and I don't have the example here. A hole right here, this Babbitt missing on the side. Well, the cam's going to ride on here, and this will actually give it a little less surface area for the cam to touch, and it'll give you just a little bit less friction. So, but I've run these like this for years and years, and I'm not going to go buy new ones from an old 750 Honda. This thing's running pretty good. So, it's not running now, but it will be. Okay, there's two types, and it's written on the side here. There's an A, and here's the B. So, if you notice, here's what happens. Oh, got it backwards. You put it in. Well, heck, that doesn't go there. So you can look and see which part of the cam it rides on. Okay, that one goes right there. See that? This rides here, and this is the tappet is right on the valve, and this rides here. So I'm going to put that one there. And here's an A. Whoop, put it in backwards again. I'm going to put that one right there. So there's an A and a B. So across here, this uses there's a rocker shaft, and it has some holes in it with threads in the holes. This is real hard steel. I don't think you could strip these out unless you really did something crazy. And this hole here is in the middle, and when the bolt goes all the way down, that's where it goes, right in that hole. You look at the ends, see this here? It has a screwdriver slot. It's not slotted. Screwdriver slot goes out, out, and this way out and out. So that's the way the screwdriver slot goes. Okay, my hair is standing straight up now. I can't believe it. I shouldn't have laid down for a minute. I should at least comb my hair, but my comb, where is it? Anyway, so I'm going to put this in, and I'm looking for my oil can. I'm going to lube everything. I'm going to get ready to put it in. I'm going to put some lube on here. I'm going to put a little squirt of lube on there, and that one's going to be push. I'm going to lube this all the way. I'm going to lube it. I'm rubbing it all over, a thin coat of lube. And then the one without the slot goes in. And you want to put these so the holes are up, because these holes right here, the bolt goes down. It's a 4mm bolt. That's what that slot's for. So line it up right here and here. Well, that's one. A little hair. There's my hair. I didn't comb it. That's probably why it's coming out. So, okay. So now I'm just going to put the oil right in here. And really that shaft isn't spinning, so it doesn't really need the oil on the shaft, but it needs it right in here. And when I get done, all these oil holes are going to get a drip of oil. I'm also going to put a drip of oil on each cam lobe before I get done here, before I put it together. heck, I think. Got some dirt on it there. Shouldn't have laid it on the bench. I should have cleaned that bench first. So I already had some contamination. I don't want any debris to get into the engine at all. The little tiny speck of dust, if it gets through past the oil filter, it'll come up to these little tiny holes, but it's really underneath. There's a jet. It's just like a fuel jet in a carburetor, but it's an oil pressure feed jet to keep the pressure at a constant rate. So the jet has little tiny holes, and I'm going to guess maybe a 100 or a 125 cc per minute size hole. So it's not real big, and it has the little holes in it, and that keeps the oil at a certain pressure. When that pump fills up the oil gallon and it's running all through the engine, you can't have it just flooding up here, because it'll flood up here and then you'll have a mess everywhere else. And these holes have been a lot of problems on the 750s. And years ago, I was racing this guy, and I shifted from first to second. I had it up around 10,500 RPM. I never let the gas off. I just shifted into second. He was pulling ahead of me, and I kicked it. And well, guess what? That wasn't too good of an idea. Because what happened was, I have a rocker that's not going to pass inspection here. Look at this. This here rocker was having problems. There was oil feed or something problem. Because these little holes right in the back squirt out. They squirt right on to the shaft, and then this here is worn out. So if this runs and it goes up and down and rides across that, it'll cause the valve, instead of just the valve going down, it'll ripple like this. And then your waves will also go through the engine in ripples, and the ripple will stop the fuel from coming in or going out, depending on which side you have this. So it'll make inefficiencies through the engine, and the wear, it'll cause a lot of wear on the cam. So that has to be set aside. I can't use that. There's a good one right here, but it has a little piece of babbitt missing. That's because these are cast, then they're heat treated, and probably machined first and then heat treated. And the cast metal has all kinds of problems with it as compared to billet steel or drop forged. And a drop forged is usually a piece of billet material that's hit with the hammer and makes it even stronger. Then they heat treat it, anneal it and heat treat it, and sometimes they shot peen it. But I don't know if that's done before or after the heat treating. I don't know how it's done. Another thing, you have to look at these tappets. Now, I don't have an example of a worn out tappet, but you'd have flat spots on it. So when it's in here, that'll go right here, and you go to adjust it, you turn it a little bit tighter, it's a lot tighter. Or you want to loosen it up, you loosen it up, and that flat spot comes around, all of a sudden you loosen it, it's not looser, it's tighter when you got the gauge in here. And what the heck, that's the funniest thing I ever had. But anyway, I was getting back to the riding a motorcycle, so I'm getting out there and had it wound out to 10.5. I shifted gears without letting off the clutch. First time I ever power shifted my bike. And it took second gear right out. That was the end of it. The dogs ripped right off. But I still ran the bike. And I was a stupid idiot back in those days, and probably still in this days too. And what happened was I drove it for about 2,000 or 4,000, probably more like 4,000 miles after that. My dad said, never change the oil. The oil doesn't go bad. You just have to add oil. And that's what I did. I was wearing the engine out. This is back when I was 19 years old, you know. And I had the engine wearing out, dirty oil. My dad said that's the way to do it, and I listened to my dad. So I let my friend drive it. He wanted to drive a 750. So we were driving up toward Fresno, California. And we were coming from the south, and we started going up this hill. It was an overpass, and I said to my friend, I said, Rick, Then this thing rides smooth, it's super smooth. And he says, you know what? It's losing power. For some reason, it's losing power. I said, well, give it more gas. He did. He gave it more gas. He said, something's wrong. It's losing power. I said, what the heck's going on? Next thing you know, the engine seizing up and we're over the side of the road. And what happened was a little piece from that transmission flew up or came up into the oil system and clogged that jet, partially clogged it. And when it was 110 degrees outside in the San Joaquin Valley, and with all the heat driving on the highway, it seized the cam. And what it did right on the end, it seized it right here. So I had to rebuild it, get a new cam holder. And these are rocker towers here. So I had to get all that new. But I learned a lot about engines because that engine was a mess. Not changing the oils real bad. And 10.5 doesn't hurt these. With stock valves, I could run it at 10.5 and never hurt it. But when I start getting above 10.5, I start feeling a little bit of float. And it's going to be worse. This is a higher cam. It's going to be a little bit worse, so I'm going to have to limit it. And I don't want that float. These high compression pistons is a good way to break or bend a valve and then rebuild the whole engine again. So this thing's really going to take off. But I used to drive that old engine all the way up. It went all the way on the speedometer, or not speedometer, but the tach until it hit ND. And I figured that's 14,000. And that's why the whole engine was destroyed inside. What a mess, man. So anyway, that's how I ended up with a big bore kit. My first big bore kit, the Yoshimura kit. Sure made a big difference. I learned a lot about motorcycles. Man, it's great to blow them up because you learn a lot. And then you rebuild them and you learn a lot. You know, if I had a lot of money, I'd take it to the store and a guy would rebuild it, charge me a lot of money, and I'd go out there and be happy, but I didn't learn anything. All I did was spend some money. So money actually is a hindrance in education a lot of times. MacGyver probably wasn't rich when he started. Okay, I got those filled. I think I did that once before though. Okay, now let me keep putting these in. I'm shooting a breeze here instead of working. Okay, that doesn't go there. See, it doesn't fit on the lobe. It doesn't fit on the tappet. So there's only A's and B's. So that's where that one has to go. And look at this. See, this sits in there just like that. This is in the middle. It's actually like a reservoir for oil. Okay, the slot goes on the outside. Oh. Got to put that in there. I have all these tappets run all the way out too. It's very important. Okay, I can't do it. I have to turn the cam. The cam's up too high. So I'm going to turn the engine. And see the cam lobe up here? I want that down. Okay, where's the tools here? I lost all my tools. I'm getting into a big mess. Everything's getting a bigger mess. It has to be sitting right here. It is. Okay, that one's really pushing. I can tell the difference in the stock cam and this. It's really kind of impressive, and I can see where the strength, right here, this strength is super important. And that's why you see these real race engines, they don't have the stock valves. They run a special valve. Valve rocker is what I'm talking about. But I'm running stock springs. I should have got new springs, but these are only 23,000, so I'm not worried about it. If it runs out, I'll wipe it off. Okay, I got this going. See, this stuff's got energy release in it, and I want that for startup and initial wear. I want the initial wear on the cam, but I don't want the energy release on the rings until they're completely broken in. Because once you put that in, the friction disappears, your rings aren't seated, and you got other problems. I know a guy, he was national champion, 2 times national champion on the National Modified Midgets Association. He drove a 250cc midget running 70 horsepower. And he ran energy release, and then he bought a brand new van. He was going to be driving his trailer around, and he bought the brand new van, and he put the energy release in the engine brand new. And the rings didn't seat, and the oil kept looking black, and his oil always looked terrible. You can't run the stuff, these super lubricants, and I don't even run the synthetic until I seat the rings. If you're running a race engine, put a regular oil in it and run it up and down the street with a burst of power every now and then. Burst. And it's important for the burst. You do a burst, the pistons go real fast and they push way out with the pressure. The rings push hard against the cylinder walls, and that's where you get the real wear. But if you do that for very long, even going all the way through a gear, it's going to heat the rings up a lot, and they're going to lose their temper. And it's not going to work properly. It's going to give you a bad break-in. However, when you give it to gas, when you're breaking it in, you can give it a lot of gas. This isn't the first couple miles now. This is like 50 miles, and all of a sudden you give it a lot of gas, go, and that's it. And let the rings cool down. Now the rings are cooling down against the cylinder walls. So anyway, that's about break-in, and I got off onto that subject because of the energy release in the oil here. I was looking, I said, heck, that's going to be a lot of energy release, but it's really not, because it's a lot of oil. I forgot what kind of oil. It's a pretty thick oil I'm using. So, anyway, okay, the other rocker arm. Stop shooting the breeze and get to work. Ooh, yes, sir. Okay, here we go. Oh, where's the oil? Oh, right on my shoe. Okay, this cam, oh, it's at the peak. Turn the engine again. See, it's good to turn the engine because I'm really testing everything, and I'm making sure there's nothing in there that's going to stop me. Wow, listen to that. Uh-oh. What was that noise about? Anyway, you shouldn't have heard any noise like that. That's what gets me. Isn't that right, Julian? Isn't that right, huh? It's a good dog, man. That's the best dog in the world. He wants to do something. But I'm doing this right now. I have to do this. I have to keep doing this. This is A rod, or A, well, heck, I got it backwards again. Here goes the A. I didn't know if it was A or B on there. I just knew that it had to fit right. Oh, I lost where the holes are at. So I'm going to turn it, and I want to listen. I shouldn't have heard that tick noise. There it went again. My thumb, got a cramp. Okay, I think I know what the tick noise is. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I'm right here. Oh yeah, see, this what it is I don't have these tappets down, and the valve is actually touching the bottom of the rocker. So that's what the tick noise is from. Okay, all right, because I've never heard that before, but I never do this running around. So I got the camera, and I might be messing up just because I have the camera in my hand. Might be a little bit of problem here. Instead of paying attention to what I'm doing, I'm trying to be a movie star. Never going to happen, I'll tell you. Okay, I got one of these that's bad. That's the bad one. Wait a minute. Oh, I see. Okay, the bad one, that was out of that old engine. And look at it. This is real interesting. I just noticed something. See how this is worn? This is out of that old engine. So I'm not worried anymore. All of a sudden I was worried, but look at how this is blued. See, the oil wasn't getting up in there. It was wearing out the cam, and it was blue in this. It changed the colors. It actually got hot, and it was really getting hot, and that engine was going to fail. I bought the bike for $50, everything. It was a good bike. So, but all these old engines, you have to take them apart because too many other people already took them apart. And when they do that, they do all kinds of stuff to make the engines go bad. They do all kinds of things that aren't what you really want. Okay, so I got those. Now I'm happy. I thought, heck, I'm going to have to find another rocker. So I'm a happy camper now. I'm really happy. Man, am I happy. Okay. Just a tiny bit. I don't have to squirt much. Okay, I'm going to put it on here. This one looks like it goes over there. What's that one, an A? See, I didn't even look. There's only two types, and you can see how they go. But ordering, see, that's if you have to order one, then that's something else. Okay, don't tell anybody I did this. Why is that going? Oh! I have to turn the engine again. Okay, shouldn't have done that. Okay, let's see. Turn the engine. Okay, we get it off the cam lobe. Okay, we're going to have to turn this a lot to get this cam lobe in. Okay. That ticking, that really ticked me off. So, but anyway, that ticking is a little bit of a annoyance because heck, something's going wrong when you're getting a ticking. There it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these little 4mm, completely wipe everything off. It's got oil on it and a tiny bit of dirt. Don't want to eat dirt. I'm going to put one in each thing just to set it in. Then I'm going to use Loctite blue on those too. Loctite blue. Because these come loose. You don't want stuff to come loose in here. Because this is moving and you might be running 10,500 RPM and that's fast. So this here, when the engine's running 10,500, this is running 5,250 RPM up here. Still fast. And these things are bouncing up and down, and everything's flying around, and these rocker towers literally bend. I see pictures of them. So RC Engineering took the valve cover, look at that, isn't that beautiful? I mean, it's not on there all the way, but they took the valve cover and drilled holes, welded it and drilled holes, and the holes matched up perfectly with this spot, this pad. These are pads. And these here, they call them rocker tower support stands. And it went from the valve cover and pushed down. right here, and you tighten it up, torque them down, and it put a pressure on here to keep these from wiggling. And this is a real heavy duty screw in here. They should have used 6 millimeter, or they did use 6 millimeter. Take that back. They should have used 8 millimeter screws instead of the 6 that they did. I would have liked that better, but I didn't know back then or nothing, so. I wish I had that old bike. I thought I was going to die. I didn't think I was going to live very long, and sold my house, everything I had for pennies on a dollar, and I had to sell it. I was real sick, disabled. And I went to the mountains to die. And when I got to the mountains, I started doing better. But I wasn't sitting at a desk. I wasn't in a stress situation. And I wasn't sitting at a desk, and I wasn't doing a lot of bending. I was just driving. And what happens, I got the staple right inside here. The whole surgery came loose 6 weeks after the surgery. And never let them put staples in you, and I guarantee it. That was 40 years ago, and I had so much trouble. I've been in bed most of last year, and I'm just getting up. And this engine, I started working on this in October, and this is May 8th today. This is where I'm at since October. So I do one little piece, and then I can't do anything. But I've been feeling better again. I've been laying down, and this is healing up. And as soon as I get moving around, it moves and moves, and the staple cuts, and I start bleeding.